Hey everybody, it's Ron with Ron's Computer Videos. This video is part thank you and part sort of show and tell about something amazing that I recently picked up. And this has been something that I've been looking for like quite a long time now. If you know me or have talked to me for more than a few minutes, you know that I am a big fan of LucasArts and adventure titles and a lot of those games from the 1990s. And you know what? I've done a really good job about collecting and trying to preserve and even hanging on to like some of my originals from back in the day. But, you know, right around the pandemic, when a lot of people got back into recollecting and doing all that type of stuff, I set myself a goal that I wanted to get a complete collection of LucasArts games, not just adventure titles, but the catalog from 1985, the year that they started making games, all the way to 1998, which is basically the last year that it's kind of before they shifted into Star Wars prequel mode. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really great games that came out in that era, especially things that were like behind the scenes stuff for the Phantom Menace, which people were just hotly excited about in those days. And probably some of the very best sort of space shooter emulator kind of things like the X-Wing experience that the company ever produced. But back in the day, I didn't get everything. I got the things that really interested me because, like a lot of people, I mean, this is probably, I don't know, the early 90s when I really started kind of collecting things and just on my own. And, you know, I don't know if the 90s were your big earning days, Gordon Gekko, but for me, I worked a lot of part-time jobs and I worked a lot of retail jobs and didn't necessarily have the income to be able to buy everything that just came out. So I really had to be selective. I had to read the reviews, and sometimes I had to go to my friend's house and play their copy first, and then make decisions about the games that I wanted to make investments in. So, you know, I would say that some of the ones that I've kept over the years have been maybe some good purchases, but the one that I want to talk to you about today is quite possibly the rarest game of the 90s era. The mid-90s, early to mid-90s, was kind of an interesting time at LucasArts because that's the era that gave us games like Dark Forces, the 2.5D sort of experience, you know, like Doom and other games kind of in that, like Catacombs 3D and stuff in that, you know, that sort of era and that style. But LucasArts was looking to make the bridge. They wanted to be able to take advantage of sort of the burgeoning CD-ROM market. They wanted to be able to offer kind of more interactive experiences, bigger feeling games. And that's when they made this. And I understand Rebel Assault is not everybody's cup of tea, but when this came out, this was kind of cool. It was like a Star Wars shooter, and it had some pretty good graphics for the time, and especially when you didn't have that level of graphical fidelity in real-time 3D. That wasn't really a thing. But I remember back in the day taking the demo CD for Rebel Assault, and I had a 200 meg external drive on my Mac. I would wipe the drive, and then I would copy the contents of the demo CD to the drive, so that way that it played with like no slowdown. And I even had friends come over that had the PC version, and they were like, man, the Mac version is so much better. Don't tell them I was cheating. All right, let's go ahead. We'll get to the game that I'm actually wanting to tell you about. And what it comes down to is the mid-90s were kind of a transition time for LucasArts, and they were looking at new markets, and they were thinking about, well, we've got CD-ROM and we've got like the multimedia revolution, and maybe we could start making some games for kids. And that's where Mortimer and the Riddles of the Medallion comes in.
Fly the slimy skies, Mortimer and the Riddles of the Medallion.
If you've not heard of it, it's basically Rebel Assault for kids. The premise of the game is there's a boy and a girl, and they're playing in the backyard one day. Dog and a cat escape through the like a hedge, and on the other side there's like this magical world where it turns out that all the animals have been turned to stone by this, villain. And your job is to fly around on a giant snail named Mortimer and sort of de-medusify all of these animals. And that's really it. It's the basic gameplay, and it's the same game engine as Rebel Assault, but, in a kinder, friendlier package for kids. No one dies. You're saving the animals. And as part of it, at the end of each level of those segments, you actually have to play through kind of a little trivia contest. So you learn facts about the animals, and then they'll kind of give you a little riddle, and then you have to solve the riddle and pick the little animal. And your chances to be able to do that are based on how well you did in the shooter segment. So you do really well in the shooter segment, you got lots of little tokens, so if you need multiple guesses. So the game was really set up to let kids win and kind of set them up for success and get excited. And you can go back, and the whole thing kind of has a high score system like Rebel Assault and stuff. And so I was not interested because I wasn't the target market. But now as a collector, I want to know more. So I started looking around online, and I figured there's got to be a copy of around there somewhere. There's not. No one has a boxed copy of this game, and occasionally you'll see either there was a demo that came out that was a partnership with Chrysler at the time, so you can play like the first level of the game, or you might see like a loose copy of the game that was probably at a school or a daycare or something like that. But you never ever see the manual. You never ever see the box, any of the pack-in stuff. That's just, it doesn't happen. It seems like people bought it, and then those items are just lost to time. Well, I actually recently did an interview with the producer of the game, and as part of that conversation, I learned the game didn't sell really well. It was possibly that a combination of just consumer interest at the time and kind of the waning retail market for games. It's very possible that people just didn't understand, because it is an original IP, and you think LucasArts, and you kind of think about several of the other things that they've made over the years, but the unfortunately it didn't do well. So it has only contributed to the rarity of the game in 2026. So what do? Well, the first thing I did is I started asking around in all the big box groups just to see, hey, has somebody got one of these in their closet? Somebody's got one in their collection, just to see if somebody had one they wanted to let loose. And the answer was always, hey man, if you find one, let me know, because I'd like to buy the second one. Or it would be like, yeah, I've got one of those, and it's right next to the unicorn that lives in my garage. And it was kind of at that point that I learned that I guess this is a really rare game to find in a retail box. This is not a unique experience for myself. Other people that collect from that era, that collect LucasArts stuff, just can't find them. So that's when I cast the net a little wider. So using that search engine food that people have gotten so good at these days, I was able to actually find a copy on a website that is basically sort of like, kind of like eBay, kind of like Yahoo Auctions, kind of like a lot of secondhand resale sites called Carousel. Reading their press release, it says, the Carousel Group is the leading multi-category platform for secondhand in Greater Southeast Asia, on a mission to make secondhand the first choice, I guess. The nice thing about the website is that all of the items are clearly listed. You can just go out, you can see things that are for sale. However, it's kind of tough for people in the West, because the only way that you can verify your account is to have a Hong Kong phone number. That's harder to do than what you think, even with eSIMs and stuff like that these days. And the listing that I found had been out there for over a year, so it's entirely possible that this seller, who still appeared to be active, may have already sold it and just never marked the listing as such. So I didn't want to go through all the trouble of getting a Hong Kong eSIM for my phone just to find out that, oh, it's gone. So what do? Well, I think the first thing that I did was cried a little cry. But after that, I went ahead and went out on Blue Sky and started asking around. And it's one of those questions where it's like, hey, who do I know that lives in Hong Kong? Or who do I know that's going to travel to Hong Kong? Or who do I know that does business in Hong Kong? And that's where I got my first lead. That's where Jeri Ellsworth enters the story. If you don't know who Jeri is, I say just turn this video off and go and read her Wikipedia article. She is absolutely amazing, and she's one of those engineers that is like self-taught and just innately understands technology and how to get things done. And best of all, gosh, she's an Apple II enthusiast and loves all these vintage machines that I love, and also has a really cool project. It's called Tilt 5. You should go and read up on that too. And while you're at it, follow her on Blue Sky, follow her on social media. She's always talking about something cool or sharing a neat article of something that she's found. So Jeri reached out to me very kindly and said, hey, did you ever get your Hong Kong connection thing settled? And I said, no. It's just a lot of trouble trying to get an eSIM and trying to get hold of people. And this guy on this website even has like a Gmail address where you can reach out to him if you're international. Because again, the only way you can communicate is through the website. And then you have to verify on the website. You got to have all the stuff. So it's like a lot of horse and cart stuff has got to all come together before you can even ask the person if it's still for sale. Well, Jeri says, I do a lot of business in that area of the world. Let me see what I can work out. So a couple of days goes by and she goes, yeah, my connection, James, over in that area is probably going to be able to help you out. Could you go ahead and just contact him directly and you guys just work it out? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for making introductions and all. And so I sent James an email. And a couple of days later, I got a response, and it was basically hey, what can I do for you and how can I help? And Jeri said, you're good people, which meant a lot. So, but the conversation basically shifted to, hey, do you know anybody who has a Hong Kong phone number, can sign up to this website, contact this person? And it basically came down to, yeah, let me see what I can work out. About a week later, I got a response back that said, yes, we've been able to make contact with the seller. What do you want us to do? And I said, I basically want you to try to buy the game. In the communication that I was able to make with the seller, he seemed amenable to doing international shipping and things like that, but I've never been able to get a message back from them that doesn't take like 2 weeks for them to respond. And I'm trying to figure out if they even really have it, because I don't have an easy way to talk to them. So this is a lot of just taking people's word for things. And James said, I got you covered. So fast forward to a couple of weeks later, James says, actually, I've got a friend that is going to be in Hong Kong next week. They're going to meet the seller in person. They'll go ahead and pick up the game for you. And do I need to let them know anything? And I basically said, here's the deal. I said, if they have the box in hand and it looks like the box in their photos, just buy it. I said, we'll figure it out. I'm good for it on this end. If it ends up that something goes wrong, I'm still good for it. I just really appreciate all the time and trouble and going out of your way to help me with this. And he said, don't worry, we'll figure it out. So about a week later, James messages me back with a photo and says, is this exactly the item you were looking for? And I was like, yes, this is it. You've done it. You've got it. It actually exists in the real world. And he was like, okay, well, that's a real load off. So let's go ahead and let's talk about how we're going to get it to you. And so we talked international shipping options and things like that. And I mean, of course, everybody, the first choice is kind of FedEx on those things. And FedEx is a good option. They'll get it to you, but it is incredibly expensive. We are talking like $150 to mail it from Singapore to the United States. And I was like, you know what? I appreciate all this. The shipping is not going to be the issue here. I want it in regardless of anything else, but let's just ship it DHL. DHL does a pretty good job. It takes a little more time, but it will eventually get to you. So a couple days later, I get the way bill from DHL. James says it's in the mail, and guess what? It arrived. And I'm so excited about this. You have no idea, because it's not only the retail copy of the game, and yeah, there's a little wear, but you know what? This just means it was loved. This probably was some kid's favorite game, and it's been opened and closed a million times over the years. But as it exists right now, it's now going to be loved by me forever. So I don't really care. I'm just glad to have it. So the nice thing about this cover, this is, if you watched my interview with Steve Purcell, Steve drew this cover, and I think it's very neat, and it absolutely sells what the game's about. You fly around on a giant snail, and which is cool. It's actually, the voice acting in this game is really great, because it's like, you know, Maurice LaMarche and like all kinds of famous voice actors and stuff. You know, there's like a ton of voices you're going to hear in this that are people from The Simpsons and from you know, other sort of cartoons like across the decades. But Kevin Meaney, comedian Kevin Meaney, does the voice of Mortimer the Snail, and I am a huge Kevin Meaney fan, so I thought that was extra special. But the cover itself is actually kind of a fold out, and there's more artwork and everything here on the side. This is the professor that you assist in the game with, trying to you know, put the medallion back together to kind of restore the realm and all that. But it is a super cute game. The CD itself sits in this little window. There's like a cardboard sort of like stand inside the box that is kind of unique, and I can't imagine like the additional you know, cost on putting that all together just for it to stand in there, so it kind of, you could sit and you could pull it out the disc when you wanted to. But the little window here is neat. It's all intact. Again, it's got a few creases, it's got some wear and stuff, but you know what, it's okay. I love it. I think it's really great. I will say something about the box. Like this side, it's like, it's got the normal wear and tear and all that, but this box is actually the biggest retail box that LucasArts ever made for a game in this era. This is actually taller than most of the other boxes, so you see it's ever so slightly taller, thicker as well, just ever so slightly. But it has a special place in my collection now forever. It's even from that era, just to let people know it's going to work natively on your Power Macintosh. But let's take a few minutes. Let's open it up. Let's look at what's in the box. It's something to keep in mind too. This is the Japanese release of the game, but which is rare in and of itself. But let's go ahead. Let's open it up. Let's take a look inside. But one more time, cannot thank Jeri Ellsworth enough for all of her assistance in making the connections where that way that I could get this game. Jeri, you are the very, very best. I cannot wait to see you at VCF Midwest or one of these other events this year, and give you whatever the appropriate greeting might be. So let's take a look inside. So that's it. That's Mortimer and the Riddles of Medallion retail box. Again, a really rare thing, kind of a really cool story of the community coming together to help one another out. Again, Jeri, you're amazing. James, thank you so much. Between the all the people that have had to hear me whine about not being able to find this game over the years, I'm rest assured, now it is all going to be, I'm so pleased that I have this. But I am going to continue to work to try to see if I can find copies for other people. I don't know where they're at, but they have to be out there. It's unfortunate that people, this is the only way that many people maybe enjoyed this game, is just on this demo disc that came out. Again, this was a Chrysler Plymouth promotional item that came out, I think in 1996, kind of just a few months before the game. I will tell you that something that is kind of interesting about that, since we're just on the subject, the game itself, there are some celebrity impersonations in the game that I guess due to just being worried about the litigious nature of the entertainment biz, were changed for the final retail release of the game. I'm here to tell you, those games are intact on the demo version. So you get to hear different people kind of doing their best versions of a lot of people that were famous celebrities at the time. But anyway, if you were a completist, grab a copy of both if you can manage. These pop up on eBay all the time. If you just want to play the demo, that's probably good. And then you can also find the game in the usual places. I'm sure it's on archive.org and places like that. But if you are interested in actually playing the game, of course, I will recommend Aaron Giles' amazing bespoke LucasArts emulator that's called Dream. He is constantly improving that software, and version 4.0 is kind of the latest version as of the making of this video, and it just now added support for Mortimer and the Riddles of the Medallion. When I saw it online, I actually posted about it. I was like, oh my gosh, you can play Mortimer now? And he's like, dude, you were like the 5th person that has said something about this. What is going on with this game? So now you know what's going on with this game. And I want to thank you so much for putting up with me and all of my nonsense about this game for probably years. And I want to thank the community again for everybody working together to try to make these types of connections. Because again, at the fundamental level, if we don't have that sort of community spirit, if we're not working together to try to build each other up, I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? So thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful night.